Hello everyone, good evening. Let us start our discussion on DPSP. Welcome to Chandu Biology Classes. So, in the previous class we discussed elaborately on fundamental rights. In the first class, when it comes to fundamental rights, we discussed what? First three rights, that is right to equality, right to freedom and also right against exploitation. In the previous class we discussed what? Right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights and right to constitutional remedies and right to constitutional remedies. And when it comes to right to constitutional remedies, I told that we have to learn about various writs, that is issued by the Supreme Court and High Court. Supreme Court under Article 32 and High Court under Article 226. Now, when I said issuing writs, we discussed various writs, that is one is habeas corpus, that is produce the body, mandamus, that is to command, that is you are asking that person to do the duty correctly, his duty correctly, his or her duty correctly. Next is prohibition, that is to forbid, that is asking a lower court to transfer the case to it because it is crossing its jurisdiction. Jurisdiction means operating area. Next we learnt about certiorari, that is it is slashing the judgment of the lower court and transferring it to the higher court, or the higher court means it is High Court or Supreme Court. And also we learnt about quo warranto, that is by what authority, okay, by what authority you are holding that office, that is the meaning of quo warranto. And then we learnt Article 33, it is talking about, it empowers the Parliament to abrogate the fundamental rights of armed forces, paramilitary forces, police forces and other intelligence agencies and other agencies, related agencies. This Article 33 cannot be challenged in the court, okay, this cannot be challenged in the court of law, that is our Supreme Court or High Court. And Article 34, it talks about restriction of fundamental rights where martial law is in operation. Example, you take example of Manipur or areas where AFSPA is in operation. AFSPA means Armed Forces Special Powers Act. And Article 35 talks that the effect of fundamental rights, that is to give effect to fundamental rights, only Parliament can make laws, not any state legislature. This is about all the articles when it comes to fundamental rights. And very importantly, you have to understand that fundamental rights are the most criticized part of the Constitution as per Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. And he also said that Article 32 is the heart and soul of the Constitution, heart and soul of the Constitution. Now, one more thing is said that there is one feature of the Constitution that is called the novel feature of the Constitution. That novel feature of the Constitution is nothing but directive principles of state policy. DPSP is nothing but directive principles of state policy. State here means, I told you, state here is discussed in Article 12 and also in Article 36. Now we are going to study Article 36. Now DPSP, you must understand that DPSP is covered under Part 4. Fundamental rights, Part 3. DPSP is Part 4. Okay, Part 4 deals with DPSPs, that is Directive Principles of State Policy. It is covering Articles 36 to 51. Articles 36 to 51. Okay, Articles 36 to 51. You have to understand that 36 to 51 is DPSP. It is what? Part 4. It is Part 4 of the Constitution and it is the novel feature of the Constitution. Novel feature of the Constitution as per whom? As per Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. As per Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. And also you must understand that we borrowed directive principles of state policy from which Constitution? From Irish Constitution, that is from Ireland. We borrowed from Ireland, Irish Constitution. Okay, Irish Constitution. What do you mean by directive principles of state policy? What do you mean by that? That is, the meaning of directive principles of state policy means it represents the needs of the community. It represents what? Needs of the community. Needs of the community. It represents the needs of the community. Needs of the community means community is a smaller entity, but actually it is representing the needs of the entire society, that is the entire nation as a whole. What the nation needs. Okay, what the nation needs. It is nothing but directive principles. The word directive, okay, directive principles of state policy. Here the word directive means what? Okay, directive means what? Suppose I give a directive to you to please go and get the water to me. Okay, directive, what is the directive? That I am telling you to do some action. What is the directive that is given here? What is the directive that is given here is nothing but, it is nothing but the recommendations. It is nothing but what? Recommendations. It is nothing but recommendations given by the Constitution to the state in terms of legislative matters, executive matters and also administrative matters. Recommendations in terms of what? Legislative matters, executive matters and also administrative matters. Okay, legislative means in terms of what are the types of law that should be made. Executive means how you should implement the law. Administration means overall how you have to take care. Okay, administration it also include law and order. Excuse me. That is legislative, executive and administrative. Okay, that is the meaning of directives. Okay, these directives, actually directive principles of state policy is also mentioned in an indirect way in Government of India Act 1935, but we should say that always you have to remember it is borrowed from Irish Constitution, but such a thing was also present in Government of India Act 1935. How it was present? It was not mentioned as directive principles of state policy, it was mentioned as instruments of accession, something like that, instrument of accession in Government of India Act 1935. Okay, instrument of accession in Government of India Act 1935. Okay, it is borrowed from which constitution? Irish. It was mentioned as instrument of accession or something like that. It was mentioned in Government of India Act 1935, and it is representing the needs of the community. It is representing needs of the community. It is nothing but directives. It is nothing but directive means what? It is nothing but recommendations. Recommendations in terms of legislative matters, executive matters and administrative matters. So, I told you constitution has, now present constitution has 25 parts, and also we have how many schedules? 12 schedules. So, all those schedules are there in a book called holy book, that is called constitution. If it is in the book, is it useful for us? That should be applied. That means that book, whatever is written in that book should be made operative. That operation, that is how you should implement that, is given in directive principle. So, directive principles can very well be called as operative part of the constitution. That is, if they ask a question, which of the following is the operative part of the constitution, the answer is one and only, that is directive principles of state policy. That is, DPSPs are the operative part of the constitution. Operative part of the constitution. Okay, if they ask which of the following is the operative part of the constitution, the answer is DPSP. Okay, the answer is DPSP. While discussing the preamble, I told you there is something called India is sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. To ensure that, we have to ensure certain laws that should be enacted, that is done through DPSP, and also DPSPs is used to achieve the objectives, rightful objectives of, what are the objectives that we learned, that is justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. Okay, first of all let us revise again the introduction what I told. It represents the needs of the community in terms of the directives. So, what are the directives? They are recommendations in terms of legislative, executive and administrative matters. Okay, and it was borrowed from Irish Constitution, but it was also present as instrument of accession in Government of India Act 1935. Okay, now we told that directive principles help in implementing the constitution. That's why it is called as what? Operative part. And also what did I mention? I told it helps in achieving the objective of justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. I told our constitution has the objective of what? Achieving justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. To achieve that, we need something bridge. That bridge is nothing but DPSP. That bridge is nothing but what? DPSP. Got it? That bridge is nothing but what? DPSP. So, to ensure that it is achieved, whose role is important here? The role of the state, that is the government. The state has to ensure that the DPSPs are implemented. Okay, fundamental rights is with respect to what? With respect to person we are talking. We are talking with respect to person or group of people. Fundamental rights can be individual also, fundamental rights can be for group also. So, suppose when I say minorities, it is not talking about some individual person, it is talking about a group of people. Okay, so fundamental rights is applicable to individual person also, for also a group of people also. DPSP is talking about implementation of laws. It is talking about implementation of laws. What are those type of laws? That is present in Article 36 to 51. Article 36 to 51 we have to understand. Why we have to implement these laws? I told you in the first class itself, the objective of any constitution is welfare of the people. But objectives may be same, but the part to it or the road taken may be different. I told you in the first class itself. So, what is the objective of directive principle? Ultimately it is welfare of the state. Okay, it ensures welfare of the state. Okay, welfare state. Okay, it ensures welfare state. Okay, they have given multiple times in the examination. What is the objective of the directive principles of state policy? It is welfare. Okay, the answer is welfare, to ensure that there is a welfare state, to ensure that there is a welfare state. How? Through social and economic justice. How welfare state? You should understand why. Okay, why it has to ensure welfare state? To ensure that there is social and economic justice. When there is social and economic justice, obviously there will be political justice. So first is through social justice, next is economic justice, and then is political justice. This order should be very important. Only when there is social justice, then there will be economic justice. When there is economic justice, obviously there will be political justice. Okay, this order is very important. When there is no social justice at all, when there is no equality at all, how will there be political justice? There is no point in having political justice when there is no social justice. When there is no social justice, when there is no political justice, what is the use of having what? Wealth. Okay, only some people will have wealth. What is the use? Then how can you talk about social justice? There is no equality at all. So this order is very important: social justice, economic justice, and political justice. So whatever the points are discussed now are highly important. Okay, this may be a single slide, not maybe 50 slides. This may be a single slide, okay, but it is very important. Clear? May not be a 50 slide or 40 slides or whatever, but the single slide tells you more things than the 50 slides. Okay, it's not important to include slide. It's about telling each slide what it is important. Okay, understand this. So in this slide I have discussed, first thing is needs of the community. It is helpful for welfare state through social, economic, and political justice, and also it is the operative part of the constitution. It is the operative part of the constitution. So whatever I have written in this slide, please write down if you can. Next thing is objective is justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity, and it is borrowed from Irish constitution. It was also present in Government of India Act 1935. And directives means it is nothing but recommendations in terms of legislative, executive, and administrative matters. Next, I also told you these directive principles are present in part 4, and it is from article 36 to 51, and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar called it the novel feature of the constitution. Clear? Next, proceeding forward, let us discuss each of them now. Meaning of the directive principles of state policy already I discussed. So that is what is written here. Directive principles of state policy are guidelines and principles enshrined in the Indian Constitution that are aimed at directing the state in its governance and policy making to ensure the welfare of the people, establishment of just society. DPSPs are considered fundamental to the governance of India and are integral to the constitutional framework of the country. Okay, so whatever is there in this paragraph, I already told you. Whatever is there in the paragraph, I already told you. Also, DPSP can be considered, this point also please write down, it is considered as fundamental for the governance of the country, fundamental for the governance of the country, fundamental for the governance of the country. See, government is different, governance is different. Government means it is an entity where group of people are there. What government does for the welfare of the people, that is nothing but governance. Okay, suppose I am a teacher. Okay, teaching is different from teacher. Teacher is I am a person. What I do in terms of telling what I know, in terms of sharing the knowledge, that is teaching. That way, government is different, governance is different. Don't get confused. Governance is not government. What government does for the welfare of the people, that is governance. So, fundamental for the governance of the country means DPSPs are fundamental for the governance of the country. This word also is very important. Which of the following is fundamental for the governance of the country? The answer is not fundamental rights, the answer is not fundamental duties, the answer is DPSPs. Clear? This one, please make a note of it. Next thing, constitutional provisions of DPSP. I already told you, it is present in part 4, it is present in article 36 to 51. Okay, the framers of the constitution borrowed it from Irish constitution. That is what I told you. In the first initial stage itself, I told you whatever the content that is present in so many slides. Okay, so listen carefully. Now, these directive principles of state policy borrowed from Irish constitution, article 36 to 51, okay, ensure socio-economic and democracy positive in nature, unlike fundamental rights which are negative in nature. Okay, fundamental rights actually they are considered as negative in nature. That means they are like, for the state, they are like curbing the powers of the state. Curbing the powers of the state means they are telling you should not do this to some individual. Okay, you are telling the state don't do inequality to that individual. Okay, you are telling the state don't harm that individual. You are telling the state allow that person to be like this. That is what it is, nothing but a negative connotation. But here you are telling the state do this, you are telling the state implement this, that is why they are considered positive. Okay, negative in the sense it is not exactly negative. Negative means you are telling, okay, it is like I am asking you, don't imagine elephant in your mind. You will definitely imagine elephant, correct law? That is what will happen. Instead of that, I say please imagine a rabbit, definitely you will imagine rabbit and not, you will not think about elephant. Instead of telling you not to imagine elephant, if I say imagine rabbit, definitely you will not think of elephant. That is the meaning of saying fundamental rights are negative in nature, but directive principles are positive in nature. That is the meaning. Now, they are supplementary to the fundamental right of the citizens. They are intended to fill in the vacuum part 3 by providing social and economic justice. That is, fundamental rights only talk about political justice, but directive principles talk about social and economic justice. Next thing is, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar called it as novel feature. Also, Granville Austin is also famous political scientist. Okay, political scientist. What he said is, directive principles of state policy and fundamental rights both are conscience of the constitution. Both are what? Conscience of the constitution. If they ask which of the following is the conscience of the constitution, it is DPSP and fundamental rights. It is what? DPSP and fundamental rights, they are both are conscience of the constitution. Conscience of the constitution means DPSP and fundamental rights, because I am telling you again and again, they have asked the questions. Heart and soul, article 32. Most criticized part, fundamental rights. Novel feature of the constitution, DPSP. And conscience of the constitution, DPSP and fundamental rights. Part 3 and part 4 combined, it is conscience. Okay, conscience means it's central to something. You can consider our conscience. For our conscience, okay, DPSP is fundamental and what? Fundamental rights and DPSP. Conscience of the constitution is what? Not just DPSP, even fundamental. Not just fundamental right, even DPSP. So you have to remember both of this. Next thing is, imposes moral obligation on the state authorities for their application, but the real force behind them is political, that is public opinion. That is, it is nothing but telling, it gives responsibility to the state. Public opinion or public policy or whatever, it is nothing but gives responsibility to the state to implement the laws or make laws and implement it. So what are the laws that they have to make is given in article 36 to 51. And one thing you must understand, I will discuss the difference between fundamental rights and DPSP in short while from now, but you have to understand fundamental rights, I told you they are justifiable. That is, if someone violates your fundamental rights, you can go to the Supreme Court. But when it comes to DPSPs, they are not justifiable. They are not justifiable. That is, if some law is not implemented, you cannot say government has not done this for me, I will go to court. You cannot say that. Okay, why we will understand? Why we will understand? For that also there is some reason. Okay. Now, see here, features of DPSP, already I told you, welfare state, dynamic and evolving, socio-economic objectives, balance between rights and duties. That is, part 3 is having fundamental rights, part 4 is having DPSP, part 4A is having fundamental duties. So, DPSP is acting as a balance between fundamental rights and fundamental duties. Okay, fundamental rights is in part 3, fundamental duties is in part 4A. Between them, there is acting as a balance. Who? DPSP. Clear? Integral to the constitutional scheme. Okay, all these are not required. International obligations, nothing to worry about this. Describe the novel features of the constitution, and Granville Austin has described DPSPs and fundamental rights as the conscience of the constitution. Both are important points. In one of them, one of the statement can be a question in the examination. Okay, I already discussed elaborately that it is DPSP and fundamental rights. Both are what? Conscience. DPSP is novel feature. Fundamental right is most criticized part. In fundamental right, article 32 is heart and soul. Clear. Next. So this is not required in depth for you, but they will classify fundamental rights. Okay, they will classify fundamental rights, not fundamental rights, sorry, it is directive principles of state policy in 3 ways. In directive principles of state policy in 3 ways. One is called Socialist principle, another one is called Gandhian principle, another one is called liberal principle. So Socialist principle means, you must understand that Socialist principle means it is talking about heavy role of the government, okay, where the government is making lot of things on itself. That is the meaning of Socialist principle. Gandhian principle means it is talking about decentralization, that is, it is talking about ground level, that is, at the village level what should be done, at the bottom level how to empower the people at the bottom level of the society, what should be done. That is the meaning of Gandhian principles. You can understand about Khadi and Village Industries Commission. Okay, Khadi and Village Industries Commission, that is, Khadi was popularized by whom? Gandhiji. Okay, cottage industries was popularized by whom? Gandhiji. Okay, so Gandhiji is talking about villages, village panchayats, is talking about at the village level to have some industries, all these things. Now, liberal principle means it is talking about whoever want to develop in their own, let them develop. That is intellectual principles. If you have your brain, if you have the knowledge, you develop on your own however you want. That is the meaning of liberal principles. It is given under these articles. You don't have to by heart these articles. You have to know the classification. If they ask, they will ask the question like this: in what way the directive principles of state policy are classified into how many ways? 3 ways. What are those 3 ways they can ask? They can give 4 options. In that you should know which of the following is not the way in which directive principles are not classified. If you know the 3 ways, the 4th one you can eliminate. 3 ways are what? Socialist, Gandhian, and also intellectual or liberal. They can use intellectual or liberal. Intellectual or liberal. Okay, intellectual or liberal. So they can give intellectual or liberal. So let us see what do you mean by socialist principles. Socialist principle means, see here, it is present under various articles. So socialist principle is present under article 38. No need to by heart. I will tell you how to remember the articles also from 36 to 51 using a trick. No need to by heart. So article 38, promote justice and welfare for all citizens. Similarly 39, ensuring livelihood. It is talking about livelihood opportunities, that is job and equal pay, all these things. So 39A, free legal aid and for justice access. Free legal aid. Suppose I am arrested for something, but I don't have the money to hire a lawyer. That time it is the duty of the state, it is duty of the government to provide me a lawyer. That is the meaning of free legal aid. That is, the judge will ask, do you have a lawyer? No, I don't have. That time the judge himself will ensure that the judge means it is representing the state. He himself will ensure that a lawyer is appointed for me to defend me. That is the meaning of free legal aid. Got it? Next thing is right to work, right to education and public assistance. Okay, I told you right to work is not a fundamental right. Right to work is what? DPSP. Right to work is DPSP. Right to work is not fundamental right. They can give 4 to 5 options. Which of the following is a fundamental right? Right to work is not a fundamental right. Okay, education, public assistance. But right to education is a fundamental right from 6 to 14. Next is ensure human conditions of work and maternity relief. That is not just work. That working environment should be safe. That working environment should be healthy. It should not be like where you get. Which one? Occupation. That is, you have the fundamental right to make the occupation of your own. That is, you have the right to do the occupation of your own. I want to teach here. That is my wish. Nobody can come and tell me, go and sell tea. If I want to go and sell tea, no, you have studied this, go and teach. Nobody can tell me. That is my wish. Okay, you can see so many engineers selling tea and all. Nobody can come and tell them, you have done delivery, no, you should not sell tea. That is their wish. That is the meaning of fundamental rights. Okay, that is the meaning of occupation there. Occupation is different, work is different. Occupation means what the profession I am following. Work means you have to get the livelihood. I have to do something to get the money. Okay, that is the meaning of right to work. Okay, don't get confused. There we are not talking about right to occupation. That is different. Freedom of occupation we are telling. We are not telling right to occupation. We are telling freedom of occupation, freedom of speech, freedom to move, freedom to reside, okay, freedom to assemble, freedom to associate, and freedom to residence and freedom to form the occupation, whichever I want. Okay, that is the meaning. So here ensure human working condition, that means safe working conditions, and maternity relief. Maternity relief means suppose the carrying mother or after whatever it is, they have maternity relief of I think 24 weeks. Okay, maternity benefit act is there. As per that, there are 24 weeks of for first 2 child. I think for first child. Okay, if they are having only first 2 childs, it is available maternity relief. Okay, maternity relief. Okay, actually there is something another new concept that is called paternity leave also. Paternity leave also is available. Okay, that is there. Next thing, it is promote cottage industries and workers and welfare. That is present in what? That is present in socialist principles. What is it? Okay. Next thing is ensure workers' participation in industry management, improve public health, prohibit intoxicants. That is, it is talking about health also. The government should ensure that there is health should be managed and prohibit intoxicant. That is the so-called drugs. That is intoxicating drugs. Okay, like cocaine, weed, something like that. Drugs in the sense not the normal for the welfare of the health you take. That is not considered as the drugs. We call it as drug as a whole, but certain intoxicants. Okay, which are prohibited. And health, when I talk about public health, it is very important that it is a what? Directive principles of state policy you have to understand. Now, when I talk about public health and prohibit intoxicants. So, when it comes to health, who is the major role player? The major role player is the government, that is the state. Okay. But when it comes to expenditure on health, okay, expenditure on health, as per the economic survey or the budget, we spend 2.5% of our budget on health. That is very less compared to other countries. Okay, that's why in our country out of pocket expenditure on health is highest. That is the maximum money we get, we are spending on health itself. That is in hospitals. Enough, no need to go depth into it. So let us go for Gandhian principles. Gandhian principles, Article 40, establish village panchayats, promote cooperatives. Okay, it is talking at the ground root level. Okay, grassroots level. Gandhian principles. Then support cottage industries, protect weaker sections like SCs and STs. Gandhi always spoke about the weaker sections. You have to bring them up. Okay. Next is talking about protect cattle and promote animal husbandry. That is whatever is at the village level, whatever you see, protect them. That is what Gandhian principle says. Next, it is also saying improve nutrition and public health. Some will be mixed. There also it will be there, here also it will be there. No need to get confused. Okay. Health is there also. Nutrition is here also. Intoxicants is there also. Intoxicants is here also. Okay. Got it. So many weaker sections of the society at that time were consuming lot of intoxicants. He was against that, Gandhiji. Okay. Fine. Next, when we are talking about liberal or intellectual principles, ensure a uniform civil code. Uniform civil code I will explain while we discuss the articles. Now, promote international peace and law. It is talking about liberal and intellectual principles. Provide free and early childhood care. I told you, right to free education, that is 6 to 14 years of age. But 0 to 6 years of age is spoken by DPSP. Earlier, this 45 only was covering from 0 to 14. Now, they are divided from 0 to 6 is under DPSP. 6 to 14 is under what? Fundamental rights. Early childhood care, that is 0 to 6 years is under DPSP. 6 to 4 years is under fundamental right. Promote modern agriculture and animal husbandry and separate judiciary from executive. This we will understand now. Preserve historic monuments, protect environment and wildlife. Okay, that is, it is talking about holistically. So to make this, how it is possible? For example, you must study in ecology and environment also, protect environment and wildlife. For this, to ensure that, we passed what? Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Environment Protection Act 1986, okay, Forest Conservation Act 1980, and also Biodiversity Conservation Act 2002. Who passed it? It is nothing but the government, that is the state. So to ensure that directive principles are implemented, government will pass what? Laws, that is nothing but the acts. Okay. Similarly, to ensure that the tribal rights are protected, it passed what? Forest Rights Act 2008. Like that, so many acts are passed. Okay. Next is, we will understand the difference between these articles. We will revisit again. I will tell you how to remember the articles using certain tricks. Now, it is important to understand the difference between fundamental rights and directive principles, because they will ask a confusing question. They will give two statements, okay, where they will give feature of fundamental rights and they will put it on DPSP, and they will give the feature of DPSP and put it under fundamental right, and they will confuse you. So it is important to know the difference. Already when you know fundamental rights, understanding the difference is easy. Now, let us see. These are negative as they prohibit the state from doing certain things. I already told you, fundamental rights are negative in nature because it stops the state from doing certain things. It is positive as they require the state to do certain things. That is, please enact a law to protect the environment. That is, it is allowing the state to do certain things. That's why DPSPs are positive, these are negative. Negative for what? State. Positive for what? State. Okay, but fundamental rights are positive for citizen. Okay, fundamental rights are positive for citizen. DPSP are negative? No, DPSP are also positive for citizen. These laws are made for what? Welfare of the people. That's why these are also positive. For citizens, both are positive. But for state, you have to think from the state perspective. For state, fundamental rights are negative, DPSPs are positive. Next thing is, they are justiciable in nature. That is, if there is violation, you can go to the Supreme Court and High Court. These are non-justiciable. That means you cannot go to the Supreme Court if they are not implemented. Why? I will tell you in some time. Next thing is, they aim to establish political democracy. They aim to establish social and economic democracy. That is, fundamental rights talks about political justice. Through political justice, what you will get? Political democracy. This one, social and economic justice. So through that, what you will get? Social and economic democracy. That's it. Okay. No need to get confused. So fundamental rights, it is talking about political justice. So through that, you will get political democracy. Here, social and economic justice. Through that, you will get what? social and economic democracy, that is DPSP. So which of the following ensures political democracy means answer is fundamental rights. Social and economic democracy or economic justice means answer is DPSP. Okay, DPSP. Next thing, they promote welfare of the individual, hence they are personal and individualistic. That is, here we are talking about welfare of individual. Here we are talking about welfare of the community. They are socialitarian and socialistic. That is, they are telling fundamental rights are actually talking about individual. Here it is talking about community, welfare of community. Next thing is, they are automatically enforced means they do not require any legislation for their implementation. Fundamental rights already they are directly present in the constitution. No need to pass laws for that. As per that article, you have the fundamental right. No need to separately say that right to equality is there because of this law. It is not like that. Because of article 14, you have right to equality. No need to make another law for that. But when it comes to DPSPs, you have to make laws. They are not automatical. Fundamental rights are automatically present. These are not automatical. You have to pass a legislation for that. Next thing is, the courts can declare a law unconstitutional and invalid if it violates any of the fundamental rights. Okay. Suppose if any of your fundamental rights is violated, the courts can declare that law, the law which is made which is violating the fundamental right as unconstitutional. That is, unconstitutional means it is not valid. They say invalid, they call it as invalid, unconstitutional or void. That is nothing but nil. That is nothing but that law does not suit, that law is invalid. That is the meaning of it. No need to get confused. They will use different words. That means the meaning is one and the same. The law is not correct. The law is not correct is what the court says. But if they violate DPSP, the court will not interfere at all. The court will never not interfere at all. It can give a suggestion. It can only give a suggestion, but it will not interfere. Okay, that is the meaning of it. These are all the differences which you must definitely know when it comes to fundamental rights and DPSP. Now let us proceed further. Let us look at the articles. So wherever you see A, B, C and all something, that means you have to understand that they are added through the amendment. Directly if you see only number, they are present in the original constitution. DPSPs are present in the original constitution. Where you see A, B, C and all, you have to understand that they are added through the amendment. Okay. Now first let us understand 36 to 51. Then let us understand later which are the articles that are added through amendments. So let us see. First let us understand article 36 to 39A. So first article 36, it is talking about definition. Definition of what? State. Article 12 is talking about definition of state. Even article 36 is talking about definition of state itself. Okay. Article 37 is talking about application of directive principles contained in this part. That is, it is saying definition of state. Okay. 37 is talking about application of principles, because it is fundamental in the governance of the country, because these principles should be applied, because they are why? Because they are fundamental in the governance of the country. Article 36 definition of state. 37 application of principles. Which principles? Directive principles. Why? Because they are fundamental in the governance of the country. I told you in the introduction itself. Directive principles of state policy. One more statement you have to remember is, I told you that time itself it is fundamental in the governance of the country. I also told you to make a note of it. That is, it is fundamental in the governance of the country. That's why you have to apply directive principles, because it is fundamental in the governance of the country. Next, article 38, it secures social order for the promotion of welfare of the people. That is, article 38, why directive principles are important? Because they ensure that there is social order. Why there should be social order? To ensure welfare of the people. Okay, like this you remember. Directive principles of state policy, that article 38 is saying that directive principles of state policy ensures social order. Through that it ensures what? Ensures welfare of the people. DPSP, social order, welfare of the people. That is article 38. Now 39, certain principles of policy to be followed by the state. That is, certain principles are there which are to be followed by the state. Okay, certain principles, what are those principles? We have already discussed. That is, certain policy principles should be followed by the state. It is given in article 39. Article 39A, equal justice and free legal aid. Equal justice and free legal aid. That is, justice should be equal. Okay, justice doesn't mean it is always equal. Okay, equality doesn't mean it is justice. Okay, equality doesn't mean it is always justice. You should know the difference between equality and also equity. I will tell you the difference now. Okay, equality, justice and also free legal aid. Now how to remember this? See here, first of all look at these articles 36, 37, 38, 39, 39A. Okay, now let me look at this trick. Suppose two persons are talking. Okay, two persons are talking. Okay, one person will come and say that there is a very good news that the state has defined what is directive principles, and they are also trying to apply it, so there will be welfare of all of us. Okay, there will be welfare of all of us. But another person says, but what you say is correct, but whatever you told directive principles of state policy, that policy first it should be followed by the state, then only there will be legal and equal justice. Whatever you are telling is fine. It is telling person A is coming and telling, okay, this person is coming and telling me there will be what? DPSPs are defined and it will be applied, so there will be welfare of the state. So I will say, okay, whatever you are saying is correct, but first of all that policy should be followed by the state correctly. Just they are telling they will apply, but should be followed by the state. Then only there will be what? Equal and legal justice, legal and equal justice. Only if it is followed, not just in letter, what are the laws that they make, not just in book, that should be followed by the state. Then only there will be what? Legal and equal justice. Otherwise there will be no legal and equal justice. So this is what? 36, application is 37, welfare is 38, this is what? 39, this is 39A. Now we can look at it. See here. Definition, application, welfare of the people, define, apply, welfare of the people, policy should be followed by the state, legal and equal justice, or you can remember it as equal justice and free legal aid. That is a mnemonic. Two people, one person comes and says DPSPs are defined and they will be applied, it seems, so there will be welfare of all of us. But person B will say, okay, that is fine, but first it should be followed by the state, then only there will be legal and equal justice, legal and equal justice. Otherwise it is not possible. That is what person B says. Now I told you I will tell the difference between equality and equity. Equality and equity. For that, let me draw a figure. Let me draw a figure. See here. Suppose this is this is equality, you think, okay. Equality means listen carefully. So don't worry about the height. Okay, this is the capacity of this person, this is the capacity of this person. You are providing an equal stage, but this person will achieve more than compared to this person. Correct, no? Suppose this is the threshold limit. Okay, to achieve something, this person is close to achieving more than compared to this person. This is nothing but equality. But now we will say equity. Now I will say equity. Now I will say equity. Okay. Both are achieving. See here, both are achieving, but this person is only given this much advantage or this much opportunities. This person is given this much opportunities because he is backward. So that both will be able to achieve equality. So reservation is based on equality or equity. Understood the difference between equality and equity? Very important. Okay, so still we are talking about equality. Equality doesn't ensure anything actually. It should be equity. Equity, reservation is based on equity. Clear? Okay. Now let us go to the other articles. So first thing is what? I will come and say, or another person will come and say, directive principles are defined, they will applied, so there will be welfare. But I will say, okay, wait. First it should be followed by the state, then only legal and equal justice will be there. Okay, that is article 36, 37, 38, 39. 37 you have to remember, it is fundamental in the governance of the country. Who? DPSPs. 38 is telling DPSPs ensure social order so that there will be welfare of the people. Clear? So let us see 40 to 43b. 40 to 43b is there. Now let us first read the articles. So let us first read the articles. So what it is saying? So see here, it is saying what? 40 is talking about organization of village panchayat. Very important. Organization of village panchayat has been asked multiple times. Articles 40, because this was specifically told by Mahatma Gandhi ji. Article 40. Organization of village panchayat, this is Gandhian principle. Article 40. Article 40 is about that. Next 41 is talking about right to work, education and public assistance in certain cases. Okay, I should get the work, and I should also get education, and also I need some help from public. Okay, also I need some help from the public. So Article 41 is talking about what? Right to work, please wake up, right to work, education, and also public assistance in certain cases. Right to work, education, and public assistance in certain cases. 42 is talking about provisions for just and human conditions of work and maternity leave. Okay, just getting the work is not enough. Whatever the work you get should be good enough. That means you should be in a safe environment, and also you should get some benefits under certain health conditions. That is, it is talking about just and human conditions of work and also maternity leave. Maternity leave. Okay. Next, living wages for workers. Okay. Okay, working condition is fine, but if you are not getting correct wage, okay, if you are getting very less wage where you are not able to live daily also, the wage should be enough in such a way that at least daily meals you have to meet, at least 3 meals you have to eat, or 2 meals or whatever. So that is the meaning of living wages, 43. Okay, so 40 is talking about village panchayat, 41 is right to work, education, and public assistance. Next, it is talking about what? Working is fine, but the condition it is talking about in 42. It should be just and human conditions of work and maternity leave. But work is given, it is safe, fine. But if you don't get money properly, it is not enough. So living wages for workers. So next, it is giving some importance to the workers. It is giving some importance to the workers. It is also, you can say, there is some Marxist Karl Marx. About Karl Marx, I will tell some other day. There is some influence of Karl Marx in Article 43. Karl Marx, what he says is, participation of workers in management of industries. Okay, the state shall endeavor to promote voluntary formation, autonomous functioning, democratic control, and professional management of cooperative societies. I also told you while talking about parts. I told you there is panchayats. Part 11 is panchayats, I think. Part 11A is municipalities. Part 11B is cooperative societies. I also told you because of this a new ministry was formed, that is Ministry of Cooperatives. Okay, Ministry of Cooperation was formed, and that it was held by our Home Minister itself at that time. While discussing parts, I told you. So here 43B is talking about formation, control, management of cooperative societies. But 43B, 43A is talking about participation of workers in management of industries. Okay, living wages for workers is 43. Participation of workers in management is 43A. That is, workers should not just be workers; they should be given importance. That should be allowed to participate in management also. That is, for example, I am also allowed to participate in management. Okay, not just the teacher. That is the meaning of allowing. So we are following constitutional principles here also. Clear? That is the meaning of this. And also 43B, to promote voluntary formation, autonomous function, democratic control, professional management of cooperative societies. Cooperative societies. Okay, we should be allowed to make our own WhatsApp group to discuss freely about our academic activities. That is the meaning of cooperative societies. It is one of the way. Clear? Got it? That is the meaning of 43B. Now, how to remember this? Suppose, let us take the case of pandemic. At that time, so many people lost work, and also so many people were migrant workers to different states. They had to go back to their own places, or rural areas they had to go back. At that time, what happened was, when they went back, okay, in their rural areas, the village panchayats met. When the village panchayats met, what they did was, for the people who came, first they organized village panchayat, pain of the people during pandemic, that is migrant workers went. Okay, so organized village panchayat. What they will do in the panchayat? They demanded work and public assistance. For the people who came, who had lost the work, please give them some work and also give some public assistance. Till they earn something, give them some assistance in the form of food or in the form of money. Next thing is human condition of work. Means it is not like some random work. It should be safe, because already pandemic is there. Don't give them some harsh work. Okay, human conditions of work. Next is give them wage, that is living wage, where they can at least buy their daily needs. Okay, daily needs. Next is manage. Okay, so for that, let them manage industries and cooperative societies. That is, manage means allow them to take part in industries and cooperative societies. Like this you can remember. So first one is what? The directive principles are defined, applied, welfare. But please wait, whether the state should first follow it. Principles should be followed by the state. Next, then only legal and equal justice will be there. Now, during the pandemic, pain of the people should be understood. So, when people have returned, as migrant workers has returned to their own place, first organize village panchayat. Then in the village panchayat, you discuss what? Demand for work and public assistance. Okay, work means what? Not just any kind of work, it should be human condition. That means safety of the workers is important. Next thing, for work, you please give the wage in such a way that at least they can manage their daily needs, that is living wages. Okay, so for that what you can do, help them manage the industries or help them manage the cooperative societies. That's all, like this you remember. So till where we have done? Till 43b. So we have done till article 43b. Clear till here? Now proceeding further. So see here, organization of village panchayat, that is first one. Next is right to work and public assistance. So demand work and public assistance, this is the trick I told you. Next is what? Provision for just and human conditions of work on maternity relief. So human condition of work is given here. Next is what? Living wage for workers, same thing is there. And participation of workers in management of industries, same thing is there. And also what it is? It is that states shall endeavor to promote voluntary formation, that is cooperative societies, that is also given here. Clear? Clear till here? So next thing is you have to learn various other articles. So that can be discussed, that we will discuss in the next class. Okay, that we will discuss in the next class, that is article 44 to 51. Those articles are easy, that can also be discussed. After that you have to discuss the difference between fundamental rights and DPSPs, that is already discussed, but we have to discuss certain things, that is like I told you 43A, 43B, like that you have to discuss various articles which were added through amendments. So 43A, 43B, like that we had 39A, 39B is also there. Okay, so which amendment added them, what is its significance, and why directive principles are not justifiable, all these things we will discuss in the next class. But before winding up, till wherever we have done, let us solve some questions. Clear? Till wherever we have done, let us solve some questions. So let us start. Also we have to understand what is the conflict between fundamental rights and directive principles of state policies. What are the various judgments? All these things we will understand in the next class. So look at this question. The directive principles of state policy are mentioned in which part of the constitution? Part 4. So which article deals with directive principles of state policy? 36 to 51. Okay, 36 to 51. Next. What is the answer? Directive principles are meant to be politically binding? No. Enforceable by the courts? No. Optional for parliament? No. Non-justiciable but fundamental in governance. I told you this word has been repeated many times in the question. Fundamental in the governance of the country, and they are non-justifiable. Next. Which of the following was inspired by Irish constitution? DPSP. Which article defines the term state for the purpose of article 4? See, which article defines the state? It is article 12 and also article 36. Part 3 means 12. Part 4 means it is 36. Understood? Part 3 means 12. Part 4 means 36. Clear? The principle of equal pay for equal work is found in which article? Equal pay for equal work. Actually, we spoke about equal justice, right? That is spoken in article 39A or which one? It is spoken in article, which article? You refer by yourself, 39A or 39D? See, it is in article 39D. We have not discussed this. Okay, when I will tell this, when I discuss what are the amendments that are made in the DPSPs, what are the articles added to the amendments. Okay, let us discuss that. So equal pay for equal work is in which article? It is not 39D also, not 39A also, 39B or which article you have to find out. I want it by next class, or you put it in the comment section. I am not going to tell you till the next class. Which directive principles aims at securing uniform civil code? This is not discussed. Okay, which article directs the state to promote the educational interests of weaker section? This is also not discussed. Prohibition of intoxicating drinks. This is also not yet discussed. Wait, just a minute. Okay. 47, but still not this. Organization of village panchayats is mentioned in article 40. Okay. So organized village panchayat, demand work and public assistance, and work means it should be living condition of work, human conditions of work, and living wages, and manage industries and also cooperative societies. This is the trick we learnt. Next, which are directive principles related to separation of judiciary, still not discussed, we will discuss in next class. What kind of state? Welfare state, good. So DPSPs aim to establish welfare state. Next thing, which of the following DPSPs, still not discussed. Which article provides for free legal aid? Free legal aid, 39A. Article 39A is free legal aid. 39D is equal pay for equal work. Equal pay for equal work is 39D. Okay. Now you understood. 39A is free legal aid. 39A is free legal aid. Equal pay for equal work is 39D. The promotion of cottage industries. Promotion of cottage industries, still not discussed. Living wage. Living wage is which article? Which article? Living wage. In the option there is no 39 at all. It is 43. See, living wage for workers. Okay. 39B is different. 43 is living wage for workers. Free legal aid is 39A. Okay. Equal pay for equal work is 39D. Okay. Article 43 is talking about living wage. Living wage is article 43. And article 43A is talking about management of participation of workers in management of industries. 43B is talking about cooperative societies. Okay, 43 is living wage for workers. Remember, very important. Next is protection and improvement of employment. That is, we will be done tomorrow. Okay. In how many ways have we classified? 3 ways. This is as per MC Setalwadi. Okay, he is also involved in formulation of DPSPs. As per him, they were classified like this. Next, you have to try this. Which of the following is a Gandhian directive principle? Gandhian directive principle. Organization of village panchayats. Got it? So that's all for today. We'll wind up now. Okay, let's meet in the next class. We'll be discussing part 2 of the directive principles. We will discuss article 44 to 51, and also we will discuss other concepts like why it is non-justifiable, and we will discuss the tussle or the fight between fundamental rights and directive principles of state policies, and also what are the directive principles state policies that was added through amendments. What are those amendments also we will learn. Okay, till then please revise this. Let's meet in the next class. Thank you.